distribute, all from one website. Any Lazy Bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music.
I feel the need for speed.
Hello and welcome to Cage Fighting. It's your main man Andy Gillard here. Hope everybody's keeping well in the world right now.
Hi there. I'm not Stu, so don't expect as many awkward stories, but it's Ash. Hi.
and it said I don't have a dictaphone with either sex tapes or radio recordings.
It does feel weird without, because obviously we've been through a few iterations of this podcast. I think this is maybe only the third or fourth episode without a Stu on here, so it's going to take a little bit of getting used to. But
there's a black hole, I think, in Zencastr. I think there's a void somewhere, Andy, that I don't think I'm ready to fill.
This is it. It'll be less seedy, though, I suppose, this episode, which is something.
I mean, we can try.
Yeah, I'm sure there's tales of debauchery out there that can fill a gap.
Wow.
Yep.
That's what she said. Gents, trending on Twitter today for some bizarre reason. Someone has put out there, this might be close, who is the number one actor? And they've given 8 names. Matthew McConaughey, Cillian Murphy, Christian Bale, Leo DiCaprio, Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Robert Downey Jr., Hugh Jackman. Now, firstly, I don't know how Hugh Jackman and Matthew McConaughey are even in the conversation for... They're not even in the top 8, let alone when we're talking about number one here. So I think we can sort of dismiss them. Ed, who is number one there? Because, what do you define as, overall actor? Is it someone who's got the star power and the money that comes with it? Is it someone who's got the most Oscars or Oscar nominations? So, I think there's a few possible answers you can take here. I don't think you'd be wrong with anyone apart from the 2 I've just mentioned. Who's number one? What criteria would you be putting it under?
Yeah, I mean, just very quickly, when those two were bookended that list, I was like, well, someone obviously was desperate to get to 8, is what it felt like, rather than that. I think it's only Leo for me. I think he's done the broader range of movies. He managed to shake that heartthrob teen thing that he had going on right at the start of his career. Mm-hmm. I think it's Leo relatively comfortably, a bit like in football when you've got Messi and Ronaldo. They're both brilliant, but it's obviously Messi. I think all of those are brilliant, but it's obviously the other Leo.
Fair. Ash, have you got a different viewpoint on that, or are you siding with Ed?
No, I think I've got a different one, just because of his versatility and his dedication to the craft of, depending on the role, so say maybe the fighter or other one, I'm going Christian Bale.
He was my second.
Yeah, watching him bulk up for the Dark Knights, but then slim down the way he does, like I say, for the fighter, it's superb. And generally as a character actor, I think he's great. I'd go with Bale, just.
Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like I'm potentially siding with you slightly more. I love Leonardo DiCaprio. I think he's absolutely fantastic. I feel like Bale has made me feel more when I'm watching films. I feel like I've been on a bit of a journey with Christian Bale that I probably haven't been quite far and wide with DiCaprio or Cruise. And I think Cruise would probably come in third, personally. Brad Pitt's a fine actor, but he's a little bit jack of all trades, master of none for me, I think. Cillian Murphy, I think, solid actor, but he probably hasn't got the star power that the other 4 before him have mentioned. And Robert Downey Jr., probably he's a good actor again, but he's sullied himself, hasn't he? Let's be perfectly honest.
He's a victim to the slop, isn't
he? Yeah.
He went back to the slurry pit too many times.
Yeah, I'm still annoyed that he was bemoaning finally getting to act again in Oppenheimer, and then at the first fucking chance. So apparently Christopher Nolan wanted him for, I think, Poseidon in The Odyssey. And he's like, oh, no, I've done enough of that real acting stuff. I've done enough of getting the awards. I'm going to go and collect my slop paycheck again.
In a move that makes absolutely no sense as well.
Yeah.
To be fair, the Dick Rider's not here, so we could actually have a go at the MCU without him crying.
This is true. So today's episode, the Running Audible, started off, we'll be looking at the Brat Pack of the next generation. So we're looking at the Brat Pack themselves in the 2000s and the 2010s, a little bit about what the Brat Pack would be if they came in that period of time. We've then got our short film review. We'll be reviewing I'm Not a Robot, which apparently is 2023, but it won the Oscar last year. Ed will also be giving us his thoughts and opinions on The Strange Thing About the Johnsons after missing last week. And then we'll be talking about Cocktail from 1988 to continue our cruise. So, the Brat Pack. So basically, the core 7 of the Brat Pack. What were they doing during this period of time? So Emilio Estevez, the golden boy of the gang, he mostly stepped behind the camera during this period of time. He directed Bobby in 2006. It got some award buzz. He also re-emerged with a film called The Way in 2010. I think he didn't shun the limelight, but he very much took a more creative path behind everything, where he was something of a star. He was kind of happy for other people to take a little bit of the shine. So if you look, so you've got 2010's The Way, then Dear Dracula, Abominable Christmas, The Public. That's all he's done in the 2010s. He didn't really do a lot. He was in an episode of 2.5 Men. It was kind of strange because I think, Ed, if you put him and Charlie Sheen next to each other, he's the actor. He's the one who's got the sauce. But Sheen was he just because he was the louder mouth of the two, maybe?
Louder mouth, he took the name as well, didn't he? So he didn't sort of want to shun away from it at all. Maybe Emilio was a little bit more nuanced. Like you say, he wanted to go behind the camera a little bit more. And we know that Charlie wants nothing more than to be in front of it. And I think sometimes it's easier to be a loud voice in a vacuum, isn't it, than trying to be clever. And I mean, I'm not a big Charlie Sheen fan. I hated 2.5 Men. Couldn't stand it. And I think that sums up what he is, isn't he? At best, he's a sitcom actor, whereas I think Emilio always had a little bit more about him. Yeah.
I feel like even though he doesn't have the name, Emilio Estevez is his father's son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rob Lowe, the heartthrob, he had probably the biggest reinvention of all, Ash. Obviously, during the peak of his Brat Pack era, he was the handsome one. And he's still the handsome one, but he's added comedy chops to that run. The West Wing, Parks and Rec, Brothers and Sisters, he became a bit more of a draw than he probably was, 5, 10, 15 years earlier. I think his reinvention pulled him up to another level.
Yeah. I think, to be fair, Parks and Rec, it helped that I sort of associate with that series sort of coming into its own when him and Adam Scott came into the picture, because the first season that it was sort of struggling to find its way, and then when they came in, it was kind of like, okay, we know where we're going now. We feel like we've got 2 more established actors here. Like Rob Lowe was sort of the big name at that point, wasn't he? Because Chris Pratt wasn't really well known. Amy Poehler wasn't really well known that much, but Rob Lowe was a big get then.
Well, I mean, The West Wing was huge. I kind of hate the fact that I never watched The West Wing. I've seen the odd episode here and there, but never sat down couldn't give it a concerted watching. But to all intents and purposes, I mean, I'm just looking at IMDb. It's got an 8.9 for a TV series. That's up there with Breaking Bad. That's as close to perfection as a TV show gets. Ed, I feel like The West Wing might be your cup of tea.
I've never watched it, but it is my cup of tea. It is definitely. And I think something Stu touched on. I knew of Rob Lowe when he came back to our screens on one of my guilty pleasures in Austin Powers. And then when you start looking him up, it's like, oh, he had a real bad late 90s, early 2000s, didn't he, with his scandal, or sort of mostly the 90s, wasn't it? So I think he's done a lot as well to get over that sort of scandal as well. I think that's something that I think he's glossed over an awful lot. That can't have been easy.
No, absolutely not. Judd Nelson, who was the cool kid, really, wasn't he? Like, he was the rebel of the group. Obviously, best known for Bender in The Breakfast Club, which he then gets immortalised in Futurama, because Bender in Futurama is named after that character. So I kind of feel like he's got more myth than anybody else. And his career, he's been working, but it's very much voice acting now. Like, he doesn't do a lot of in front of the camera stuff, which I love a good voice actor, but it's kind of weird to have been as big a hot shit as he was in the 80s to then be, I think it was Rodimus Prime, I think he ended up doing the voice of, and Phineas and Ferb, he was in that as the guru, and like lots of single episodes here and there of voice work, and it just seems a bit of a strange move, doesn't it, Ed, you think?
Yeah, and this guy was other than The Breakfast Club, I didn't really know him from very much until I was doing some research before we did this, and yeah, to see that his IMDb is like, it's voice acting, and then it's a random, 2 or 3 out of 10 film that you've never heard of. So he's obviously keeping himself busy, but he seems to have one of the main guys that seems to have really slipped away from the star he had with the John Hughes stuff 20 odd years ago and 30 odd years ago now to now scrabbling around a little bit. It's crazy, I guess, what's happened to some of these guys.
I do think as I sort of briefly mentioned in last week's episode, that the struggle of being labelled the Brat Pack, trying to move away from that, I think it did have repercussions on it. None more so than the next guy, Andrew McCarthy. He was the soft, sensitive one of the group, and now he's pretty much known as a TV director. Like, he's completely stepped away pretty much from being in front of the camera. He's got the odd appearance here and there, but it's very much, supporting roles or background actors. But if you look at some of his directorial work, he did like a number of episodes of The Blacklist, which was massive. He worked on the Aquafina, Nora is from Queens, that TV series. Good Girls, The Sinner, Orange is the New Black. He reinvented himself as, a gun for hire, Ash. Like I say, he's not, of all the group, he's probably the one I would say I know least about, but he's the one who I think has built a pretty sturdy career away from the limelight.
Well, say, if you guys don't know him, and say as I said last week, I'm considerably younger than you guys, so I'm going to know even less. If you're gonna be in the shadow of some of these other guys, the best thing you can do is completely go a different way and say, if you've made a good career of yourself of doing load of TV, you can't really complain about that, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Molly Ringwald through this period of time. So she was always, quite famously, she was John Hughes's muse. Everything he wrote, like, he sort of had her in mind for it. She was like his golden star almost, and I think she's the one who didn't transition at all during the 90s. Like, they just didn't know what to do with her. I said last week she'd gone from being, a young woman to being a woman of a, adult age, and Hollywood doesn't like that you're either got to be young and sexy or old and motherly, and she was neither, and she really struggled with it. During this period of time, she became a novelist, a musician, occasional acting. She returned to prominence in The Secret Life of the American Teenager, which I don't know that one. I also know she appeared in one of the very few parody films that I don't hate, Not Another Teen Movie. And that's pretty much like her run throughout this period of time. Like, she was the cool one almost, and it seems a bit strange that it doesn't seem strange. It feels very Hollywood of that period, doesn't it? That she's the one who struggled the most.
Yeah, and she's obviously very pretty, but she's not Hollywood pretty in the way that you'd assume. She's not blonde. She's she's quirky looking. She's girl next door, and that's just not. Yeah. That's not what the 2000s were about at all, was it? It was all very glamorous at that point, and yeah, you can see why she was probably wrongly, but just put on the shelf because she just didn't fit the criteria that was needed. She was a muse. She was of her time. When you look at her in sort of the Brat Pack days, that's exactly what, we're doing all the cruise things. That's what leading ladies look like in the 80s and early 90s. Then when you hit the 2000s, they don't look. They don't. Tom Cruise would not be smooching any of the girls that we've watched the last few weeks. Him doing that, they just didn't look like that, did they? We moved into American Pie, and everything was very very airbrushed and ready to go, wasn't it? And she just obviously didn't fit the bill.
No, I think you're right. Ali Sheedy, the misfit of the group, she moved into teaching, mostly indie films, occasional TV work. I think she pretty much leaned into her characters almost. Like I say, she was sort of the misfit, and she was the one who was doing the quirkier side of the world. So it was your teaching and stuff like that it wasn't particularly mainstream again. She's probably the hardest one to sort of define, I think, out of all of them. But yeah, so that was her through the noughties and tens. Demi Moore, though, she's the one who made the leap, isn't she, Ash? I mean, So what have we got through this period of time? I know, like, she did have a little bit of a falter towards probably the end of the 90s. I think that she did have some issues with drink or drugs, if I remember correctly. I vaguely remember like a stay at like the Betty Ford Clinic or whatever it is. But then after G.I. Jane, which would have been late 97, there's like a little bit of break with The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. But then we come back with Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle, Bobby, which was the film directed by Estevez, Flawless, The Joneses, LOL, which is one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's fucking hilariously bad, with Miley Cyrus, I think. They say that LOL means lots of love. So when you watch it knowing what it actually means, it just makes it quite cringy and funny. But then, like, she was in Empire, Rough Night. She had quite a few decent comedies, Corporate Animal. I don't think her noughties and tens, Ash, were perfect. I think they were probably the best of the bunch, though. And she's the one who still has probably the most pull.
Yeah, and then you just have to look at where she is now with Unbearable Weight, with God bless him, our fallen saviour. and then obviously your favourite, The Substance. Like, she could easily have a bit of a resurgence here. So, like, you can sort of see she's always had the staying power.
Yeah.
Do you think her Bruce Willis and Ashton Kutcher kind of relationships also help with that as well?
Definitely kept her in the spotlight, didn't it? Because obviously Bruce has been such a big name for probably longer than I think she has. And then there was the jokes about being Ashton Kutcher's mother. That again, like, it's not appropriate, but that's the kind of thing that does keep you in the spotlight somewhat. So I think it definitely helps. So during this period of time, what would you say would be the spiritual successors to the Brat Pack's films? So we're looking at films that are sort of comedic, maybe emotional dramedies rather than outright comedies. I think the noughties moves on a little bit and it does evolve somewhat. But Ed, have you got 2 or 3 films that you would consider a spiritual successor during the noughties?
Yeah, that's something like Mean Girls for me. I think would be one that's up there. You've got sort of the it couldn't be more high school, could it? Because this is where it's set, and obviously it sways a little bit more towards obviously it being female. But I think on the other side of that, I had these two. So I also had Superbad, with it being sort of a much better version of American Pie. Superbad, it's funnier, it's smarter, and it's goofy like some of the Brat Pack films were. So it's got that genuine comedy rather than just slapstick as well. So I've got those two as sort of the modern equivalents. You got the cliques in Mean Girls is another thing that we saw in the Brat Pack stuff as well. So it kind of it seemed like it moved on a little bit. Everything's a little bit more polished because that's just the way cinema went. But I would go for those two really. You've got the chaos and the teenagers becoming young adults in both of those that I think encapsulates what we saw in the 80s. With it's just, I think it's all just a little bit smoother. Yeah,
I agree. It's very much coming of age stuff, isn't it? I think is where it really shines. And the thing I love about Superbad is whilst it is a comedy, like you said, compare it to American Pie, which would have been 8 years earlier. Like, American Pie is slapsticky nonsense that doesn't exist outside of the realms of that film. I think that Superbad could be a true story. There's nothing particularly outlandish about that movie, and by grounding it in that realism, I think it sort of stands it above pretty much most of its contemporaries.
Yeah, it's sort of American film in between us, isn't it? You've got the three dorky kids that are not quite nerdy enough to be nerds and not quite cool enough to be the cool kids. Yeah, it's a great film, and it's really clever, really clever.
Yeah. Ash, have you got a couple of 3 films?
I sort of went down I had a couple of ideas. I sort of went down the same sort of thing. Obviously, I don't really know any of the actors in it, but like sort of your Project X is a bit extreme to that extent. Don't know if anybody watched Project X.
Yeah.
But it's the same sort of premise of your kids trying to pull a house party out of the thing. I sort of tried to think of like an ensemble cast sort of film. So in that sort of time, I think your main sort of one would be sort of your Ocean's 11 sort of thing. Like you've got your actors, your main sort of actors in there, and they're all working together, etc. That's the sort of camaraderie sort of aspect. But then I also thought of American Pie just because sort of I like the music, but it's going to spoil a question for later on. But yeah.
I do think, like, I mean, obviously you've mentioned American Pie and Project X, which are much bigger, sort of more outlandish kinds of comedies. But that probably is where we are in the noughties.
Yeah.
I think it sort of touches on what Ed had said earlier about Molly Ringwald not being pretty, but not being Hollywood pretty at that point. Because the noughties, everything was so much bigger, and you couldn't just have D-sized tits, you had to have double Ds, and they had to be big and fake, and everything was just to the extreme, wasn't it? It all felt very fucking Hardy Boys 2001, like it's Team Extreme. That's what it was all about. Yeah. I do think that is the evolution of where we were. I'd got down 2 of the ones that you'd mentioned, Ed, so Mean Girls and Superbad. I fucking love Mean Girls, and I love that we are 20-something years later, and it's still, like, when I went to see the Mean Girls musical at the cinema, it was midweek. Like, I think I saw it on a Wednesday. It was full. Yeah. Like, the amount of times I've been to the cinema on a Friday or a Saturday, and it's fucking half empty. People turned out for it midweek because it's a film that people care about.
It's a cultural touchstone, isn't it? I think Mean Girls. I think it without trying to sound incredibly woke, especially while Stu's not here, but like we sort of had the girl power thing in the 90s, didn't we? That kind of came through. Then things like Mean Girls also showed that it wasn't just about being brash and stuff. It was also quite clever and quite like knowing, but not in a wink, wink, nudge, nudge way.
I mean, the hill I will die on is that Tina Fey might be the best of everybody walking God's green earth. Like, I love Tina Fey so much, and this is very much her type of film. Like, you can tell that she's written it. Like, her fingerprints are all over this kind of work. And it wasn't female empowerment. It was just females being able to exist. Like, you don't have to be the biggest and boldest. You can just be a human being, and I love that about Mean Girls. I think it's a tremendous film.
The thing is, it's pitched just right, because otherwise you end up with the Ghostbusters remake, or the is it Ocean's 8? Is that one the one? And they're just dreadful. Whereas Mean Girls is just,
or the end of Endgame when all the women turn up at the end and fight. No. And it's all like, we didn't need any of this, did we?
Ash, have you got anything from the 2010s that you think would be like the next step in the time frame?
I think I skipped ahead with Project X, didn't I? Because I think that's just in the...
Was it? It's been so long since... I think I saw it, ironically enough, after our most recent series. I had it on DVD from Netflix. Yeah. It was one of the ones they sent me once. 2012. I didn't realise that.
Sure. It struggled. I struggled to thingy because it was in the peak of me working at the cinema, and they all just blur. The years sort of blur into one, and you struggle to remember exactly when. 2010s. I'm sure that it's been mentioned on here recently, but Blockers. I thought Blockers was fantastic, and if I remember rightly, and I'm going to say it, it's going to be me saying her name again. I'm pretty sure Catherine Newton's in Blockers.
She may be.
I think she might be Leslie Mann's daughter in that film.
I know it's Geraldine Viswanathan, because she's gone on to have like a pretty solid career as well. Oh yeah, Catherine Newton.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great film, and spoiler alert for next week, I feel like Catherine Newton could very much be current Brat Pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the Gen Z Brat Pack. Although, I mean, she's 30 now, so maybe she might be too old. We'll discuss that next week. Ed, 2010s?
I think the only one I've got that we haven't really talked about is Book Smart, which I think just about gets in. And you've got that.
Stole mine again.
Sorry. You've got that one wild night structure again, haven't you? And again, it's female led with one of my answers for one of the questions coming up around potential new Brat Packers. So I think that one for me, I think hits it really well. And again, as we move on through the years, it gets a little bit slicker, a little bit more nuanced. But yeah, it's really good. And also anything with Jason Sudeikis is a winner for me.
I really loved Booksmart. I think I went in with quite low expectations, and it was just excellent. The other two that I've got on my list, Ladybird, which again I think is a really clever, really well-written coming-of-age story. And Eighth Grade, which was written and directed by Bo Burnham, who would probably be Brat Pack in this period if he was an actor rather than say stand-up. He was a YouTube guy, wasn't he, or probably just coming out of it at that point. But yeah, Eighth Grade I thought was just a wonderful, anxious-ridden comedy, coming of age, not quite knowing your place in the world. I thought it was brilliant. We have got to the point, I think, at this, like you said, Ed, it's slicker, it's more knowing, like it's definitely a lot more meta than I think it ever was. And I think it's all the better for it. Well, they know their place in the world a little bit better than they probably would have done during the noughties or even prior to that. I think teenagers probably a little bit more self-aware now than they would have been back then. So I think this would be the spiritual successors to them.
What year, quickly, was Easy A, the Emma Stone film?
That's in this as well, because that came up in a Google search that I did.
Yeah, 2010. Yeah, like absolutely no arguments. I will wax lyrical about that lady very shortly. Did the rise of young adult franchises replace the Brat Pack ensemble during this period? So during this period of time, we've moved away from having ensemble casts who will do a little bit of everything but generally stick together. We're starting to look now at your Harry Potters, Twilight, Hunger Games, Divergent, Narnia, Percy Jackson. We've got a lot of films that just have the same cast. Rather than the same cast doing a varied thing, they just do a lot of things together. Ed, what do you think? Is it just that was the way of the world, that it became IP driven, so that was where they were going with it, or was it a concerted effort to do it? Do you think?
I think I've said it a few times when I've been on the pod. I think people ran out of ideas and just decided to either go back to books that have been around for 50 odd years, or how can we just franchise this? And that's what it felt like. We saw it a little bit with American Pie and bits and pieces and Austin Powers and all that kind of stuff. We saw that films would go maybe one or two past where they should do, but we went down a route, I think, in cinema at this point where they were after box office wins because people weren't going to the cinema as much. I know at this point in my life, I was going to the cinema a lot less than I was before because nothing was new. There was nothing new under the sun. And, despite being a massive Harry Potter fan, unlike you lot last week, that shat on one of my childhood dreams of hating Harry Potter. The films, by the way, you can. The books, you can't. I think we also...
You can a little bit.
No, shush. We kind of skewed to what was easy, and I think we're still seeing that now, which is why films like... what's the new one that you guys have all waxed lyrical about last week? I forgot.
Project Hail Mary
and Sinners, all of a sudden they look even better than they probably are because of they're around the same kind of drivel that we're all still watching and still churning out, and Netflix are churning out. So yeah, it felt like franchise was the only way to go, and I don't know if it's because ideas ran out or just because Hollywood got lazy. I don't know.
Ash, do you think there's something about actors became known for their IP rather than their ensemble? So what I mean for that, so Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, they're the Harry Potter kids. We've never seen them do anything else together. They're just three actors. They're three individual actors who were just in 8 films together. Yeah. And I think if any other actors did 8 films together that weren't part of that franchise, you would group them as a pack. I don't feel like those three are a pack. They're just three people who happen to exist near each other.
Yeah. You can also go a bit further ahead as well and look at the MCU, can't you? Like, they're the Marvel pack, and it's like you don't put them together, do you? And same with Lord of the Rings. Apart from the Fellowship all got a tattoo, they were in 3 films together. But like the Hobbits, like you can go on the Comic-Con circuit and you can get a photo up with all the Hobbits, and it's like, apart from 3 films and basically 2.5 of them, most of them aren't together. Like Merry and Pippin are together, but they're not all together at the same time. But they're always going to be the Hobbits now, aren't they?
Yeah,
and
I think so.
I love all of them, but I implore you to tell me what else Pippin's done in his career, because I struggle. I know that Merry was in the awful Wolverine film.
Yep.
I'm going to have to Google it because I don't even know which one's which is...
Billy Boyd
Dabbing.
was Pippin. And he was in Lost as well, wasn't he? Merry was in Lost, wasn't he?
Is that Monaghan?
Yeah. Monaghan was in Lost and the Wolverine film. But Billy Boyd, apart from singing the credits of the last Hobbit film.
He was most recently in the Wing Feather Saga.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at a list of things. Oh, he did a voice in Chucky. That's the last thing I've seen him in that I've seen.
Yeah.
But everything else, no. Apparently he was in Sandman as well. Oh, the podcast series. Yeah. No, you're right. I don't know his work whatsoever outside of that. I'll change it up slightly. We'll do the music question next, and then we'll end with the Brat Pack chat. So big hits that we have for the Brat Pack probably would have been St Elmo's Fire and Don't You Forget About Me. So what songs or soundtracks do you associate with teen coming of age dramedies of the noughties and tens? Ash, what you got?
I've said it before, but it's sort of early 20s. That was sort of me turning 11, 12, sort of finding myself. So it's American Pie, because it was that sort of music for me. It's your Sum 41s, your Blinks, sort of. That was my sort of time. That was, you're introduced into sort of this sort of cheesy, kiddie pop rock sort of thing, and it just worked. It's like Offspring, that sort of thing. Being that sort of kid, I can still go back and listen to the American Pie soundtrack now.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think I'd have been 16 around that time, 15, 16, and it was very much, do love a bit of pop punk, to be fair. Yeah. So, and I still listen to that shit now. Anything new pop punk, I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a go. Ed, what have you got?
Yeah, so American Pie was one of mine, because I think I'd have been, 14, 15 when that came out. So that was everything I was watching on the box and MTV and all that kind of stuff that was on. The only other one I really liked that I remembered without having to do any research is I really liked the indie soundtrack to 50 Days of Summer.
500 Days of Summer.
Yeah, 500,
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah. Because you had like the Smiths, and like it was everything that sort of university Ed was really into, because he thought he was cool, and there was songs from before he was born that he should be into. So that one was really good, and I think in the film the music means a lot, because obviously it's a bit of a nothing film, really, in terms of it kind of goes nowhere, starts nowhere, and kind of meanders along. And I think the soundtrack with that really works with it, because you can't have the Smiths in a film and think it's going to be the most upbeat film. So I think it really worked.
Yeah. I've gone with the Shins' New Slang. Like, that song was a big part of Garden State, and it just felt like it was everywhere. Like, in every independent coming-of-age tale, you had that song. Juno's, they used Mouldy Peaches, Anyone Else But You. I felt like that was another song that was just ubiquitous for a good few years. Then leading into the entire Scott Pilgrim soundtrack, which is very indie-fied. It is. And then keeping it very Michael Cera-coded. Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, which is a film pretty much centred around mixed CDs and stuff, which again is very much of that time. Like, it's a great playlist as well. Yeah, and it's probably a little bit too grown up for what would have been the noughties Brat Pack, but the High Fidelity soundtrack goes pretty hard as well. That's from 2000, that was. But that was just like chock full of fucking classics. So there's stuff that I definitely identify with around that period. Right then, so if we were to build our very own Brat Pack in the noughties, who are you putting in there? I'll go through each of the 7 archetypes and you tell me who you think would be which one. So, Ash, who have you got down as your golden boy?
Which era are we doing here? Noughties or tens?
The noughties first, mate.
Noughties first. I've sort of gone for Brad Pitt. I think we're in that sort of era of Pitt that he's sort of becoming sort of mainstream to an extent. He was in sort of Troy, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. He's becoming that sort of guy. It was either going to be Pitt or Cruise in that sort of sense.
Ed, who have you got?
So I went down sort of the more barely out of teenage, and it came about because of one of the answers later on that I've got is around the girl next door. But I went with I had to Google who he was because I just remembered his face. But it's Chad Michael Murray. He was in Freaky Friday. He was in One Tree Hill. He was kind of like the stereotypical handsome kid that looked like he should be on Dawson's Creek. He might have even been on Dawson's Creek, actually. But I because one of my answers later on is Lindsay Lohan, I just went with the love interest from that film.
That makes perfect sense. Like he was everywhere for a short period of time, and I don't think I've seen him for about a decade now.
No, and when I googled him earlier and found out who he was, his career seems to stem from 2001 to 2007, and then it stops for a long, long time. So I think maybe, like we talked about with Molly Ringwald earlier, I wonder if he all of a sudden wasn't the ideal guy. All of a sudden, either I can't imagine he got fat because he's got a jawline and a half. But I think he fell out of favour by the looks of him. But he was in Dawson's Creek, so you don't need to say any more, really.
Yeah, because he was also in one of the worst Nick Cage films, Left Behind. Like the absolute dregs of Nick Cage's career, a 3.1 on IMDb, just truly terrible. I really wanted to make a case for Zach Braff to be the golden boy, because I think, because I've generally gone a little bit younger on mine, I think he might be a little bit too old. Yeah. But Scrubs is basically a coming-of-age show. It's just disguised as a medical comedy, really. Garden State obviously became quite a defining emotional text of the noughties. He was the face of the indie romantic comedy for quite some time, and I felt like he would have been a good shout. But I've gone a little bit younger, and I think it's probably Ryan Gosling at this point. Because we had Remember the Titans, Murder by Numbers, The Slaughter Rule, United States of Leland, Notebook, Half Nelson, Lars and the Real Girl, Blue Valentine. He's doing it all. So he's doing your sports, he's doing your quirky outside killers, he's doing the emotional toughness, he's got the comedy and the soul and everything in between. I think it's probably Gosling through the noughties because he's young enough and hot enough at this point that I think that's where you'd be pitching your stuff. Heartthrob, I'll go first this time. It's Zac Efron. Because he was just, like, everyone loved Zac Efron around that period. I still really like Zac Efron. I probably appreciate him more in his older age than High School Musical, which I've only seen one of. But he was everywhere for those 3 films. Like, he was just completely inescapable. He was that era's, like, definitive pretty boy icon. What was the one that he did with Matthew Perry?
17
I remember seeing
again.
that. Yeah, I remember seeing that. I quite enjoyed that. I thought that was quite funny. I think he was a solid enough actor, and he's gone on to have some real acting chops. But yeah, at that point, he was the heartthrob of young teen girls that would probably have been Leo DiCaprio when we were like in the 90s when we were growing up. He was like the evolution of the Leo, I think. Ed, who have you got for your heartthrob?
I've got your golden boy. I've got Ryan Gosling, mostly just because of the Notebook and the kissing in the rain. I mean, that I think is everything, isn't it? So I had him. Everything you said about why he was the golden boy, I think that's why I put him down as the heartthrob.
I mean, he's a beautiful man as well.
He is.
We all love Ken, so yeah.
I'd mouth kiss him when I'm a straight man, so definitely.
Yeah. Ash, who have you got?
I've got Gosling elsewhere, but I've got Zac Efron for this one. It's literally the exact same as you. High School Musical, everyone loves Zac Efron in High School Musical. Like, he was just the boy in that one.
Yeah. Ed, I'll come to you first. Who's your rebel?
I've got one of my favourites. I've got Heath Ledger as my rebel.
Great
10
face.
Things I Hate About You, A Knight's Tale, and then even going into Brokeback Mountain. You know, he's doing sort of the more difficult roles. You know, he's the tortured, handsome man, isn't he? And he doesn't fit all the stereotypes. And you know, he's even an Aussie. He's not even American.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got it. He's a charming bad boy. That's what I've written in my notes, and that's what you needed for a rebel, because you've still got to be handsome. You can't be Nicolas Cage ugly to be a rebel.
I think that's fair. Ash, who's your rebel?
I went a bit out the box a little bit, but I went with Tom Hardy because he was Bronson in those 20s, those 2000s.
Good shout.
So, and rock and roller as well. So I sort of went down that sort of route just because I had when I saw the thing, I earmarked Heath Ledger for a different one, but we'll get there. But yeah, I thought Tom Hardy. I thought he's tough guy, sort of. He could have been any of them though. He's a gorgeous boy.
Yeah, you're probably right. Actually, like I think that's one thing that we've probably moved from the 80s and 90s to this period of time. The actors were a lot more versatile.
Yeah,
like you could feasibly make an argument for pretty much anyone to fit in any of the molds, because you have to be a bit more, like, not a jack of all trades, but you do have to be able to do more than just the one thing. The one that I've gone with, and I'm not sure if he might be considered to be too old for it, but I've gone with Joaquin Phoenix for this period of time. Probably not even so much for his films, because during here, like, he would have been Gladiator, where he was a bit of a sniffling shitbag. Walk the Line, obviously the Johnny Cash film. Reservation Road, Her. But during this period of time, he was very anti-celebrity. He was away from the screen. He had this persona. There's that thing where he quit acting and was going to be a rapper. And like, I think he had the spirit of a rebel away from the camera, that on camera he was just a very solid actor, but I think his persona was that of something of a rebel for Hollywood. They wanted to try and pigeonhole him, and I don't think he was ever accepting of that. So I've gone with Joaquin Phoenix there. I feel like you and me, Ed, may have the same girl next door.
Do you want to go?
I've got Lindsay Lohan.
So have I.
Yeah, Mean Girls. Like, she was cute. She was relatable. She was very grounded within that world. She was very sincere. She was lovable.
Yeah.
Like, she is the girl next door. She's even got the red hair of Molly Ringwald. She's the perfect heir to Molly Ringwald.
Yeah, she was normal enough to relate to, wasn't she? She wasn't someone that you thought, that wasn't gettable for the Heath Ledger rather than the overtly handsome guy in films. Yeah. So yeah, she was the main reason why I went with the guy with the three names as the golden boy, just because he was the heartthrob in that. So therefore, he was who I went for earlier. So yeah, it was Lindsay Lohan. It was Mean Girls. Freaky Friday as well. There's enough films where she is the girl next door. I think she's the perfect choice.
Weirdly, like 3 years later, she then did I Know Who Killed Me, which is so weird in comparison to everything that she was building at that. I suppose she didn't want to be pigeonholed, but if you haven't seen I Know Who Killed Me, it's terrible, but it's worth 100 minutes of your time just to laugh at how bad it is. Ash, who have you got for your girl next door?
I went for a redhead. I went for one that's been mentioned before, but I've gone for Emma Stone. I think in Superbad, I think in that sort of period, in Superbad, even in Zombieland, she's still kind of girl next door, just in an apocalyptic scenario, and she's looking after her sister. Even if I don't know if either of you will have seen it, but have you seen The House Bunny?
No,
now that's a film.
I don't think I have.
Oh,
Anna Faris.
Anna Faris. Yeah, she's in that, like Kat Dennings as well. Yeah, it's something to look at least. It's not up to much, but
we need to keep this up because I've said I'm going to kiss Ryan Gosling, so we need to.
We're all inclusive here.
I had as an honourable mention, I had Kirsten Dunst, but I think she might have been slightly too old at this point.
Yeah, I did have a thing for Kirsten Dunst during this period of time.
I still do.
Yeah, she was. I really liked her in Civil War from a couple of years back. And I kind of like that she seems to have found a second lease on her film career. Oh, I'm really pleased with that. I think she's a top actor. And of course, I think every guy of our age loves Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, of which she's a big part of as well. The Misfit. Ash, do you want to go first?
I've already pre-mentioned it, but for me, it's Heath Ledger. I think it screams 10 Things I Hate About You. And then obviously you go into The Dark Knight and all of that sort of thing. And I think it's just perfect. I that was the first name that came down for that one. Like, literally, that was the first name I put down in the entire list, was Heath Ledger as the Misfit. So
I'd gone for like the opposite side, so rather than bulky and hunky, I've gone with spindly and weird with Michael Cera, because I'm a big fan of Arrested Development. So I thought that fits quite well, and obviously Superbad would have been the film. He was the awkward outsider. He became the Generations mascot, I think was the note that I'd got. Like, for some reason, there's the scene where he draws whiskers on his face, and then he licks his paw like he's a cat. He draws it on with flair in Superbad. And I don't know why, but I found that the funniest thing I'd ever seen. It was such a small, silly little joke, and it just finished me off. That is absolutely outstanding. And then, of course, there's George Michael in Arrested Development. It's just one of the greatest shows ever written. Those first 3 series are untouchable.
It always thingies me. It always makes me sad that in This Is the End, he's put out to be this sort of sex pest creep.
It's quite funny though, because obviously that is very much playing with his persona, because that's not who we know him to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently he asked Rihanna, was it, who slaps him? He asked her permission if he could touch her arse, and she said only if I get to slap you properly. So yeah, like she fucked him up with that slap apparently.
I think that's a fair trade.
Yeah, it's worth it, isn't it? You'll take it. Ed, who's your Misfit?
I went with, just based on one film, I went with Juno's the film, so I went with Elliot Page. Weird looking kid. Definitely a misfit. Like, clever, quite a good actor, but when you then look at what else he's been in, and it's sort of like we're in the dregs of like X-Men films and things, and it's like, I think he's been in some sort of Netflix specials, I think, as well. So, but I just thought straight away for him, because I went down the Michael Cera angle of like the awkwardness for the misfit. So, but I just thought, because my instant reaction to a misfit was, that kid from Juno, because that was awkward from start to finish, and massively misfit for both of them, actually, both main characters. So I went with that, because I went with misfit also meaning a little bit sort of resistant to like being normal, and like even the way he looks is very unusual, especially for someone who sort of plays a love interest in a film. So I went with him.
Have you ever seen Hard Candy?
Yes.
Now that's that's, as soon as you said Elliot Page, I was thinking that Hard Candy was good shout.
Yeah. The Aspiring Adult. Who have you got, Ed?
I went with Anne Hathaway. I think at this point she's got that. The original one is Demi Moore, and that was who I thought was the next one off the conveyor belt. You got the Princess Diaries, Devil Wears Prada. There's a little bit more about those films than just sort of being good looking. There's some acting chops in there, so I went with that. So you go from naive teen to sort of young adult, and she has some chops about her, so a bit like Demi Moore. I think she looks a bit like her as well. Yeah,
you can see a resemblance there. Interestingly, it was a 50-50 between Anne Hathaway or Emily Blunt for me because of The Devil's Wears Prada. I went with the other one, but like I don't think you can go wrong with either of them, because they were both two women who were like just about to hit their early 20s, and it was a case of, they weren't adults, but they weren't kids either. They were finding their feet, and I see a lot of like parallels between those two. Ash, who have you got?
I went, just because we've seen her as a kid in sort of the 90s, and to see her growing up literally in front of our eyes and wearing some of the most outrageous clothes ever, I went with Natalie Portman. Because she went from that child actor to what she wore in Star Wars. Jesus Christ. That was a sexual awakening. And then to go from there to Viva Vendetta. Well, that was in that era. That was a different thing. And then I don't know if Black Swan 2010. So I don't know if that counts.
I think it was. Yeah,
that was a interesting sexual evening. But no, I think for that stage, I think Natalie Portman's hitting a good stage, being an adult.
Excellent. The final one then for this part. Who would be your sensitive romantic, Ed?
I've already mentioned him, so Joseph Gordon-Levitt. 500 Days of Summer, but obviously I loved him from Third Rock from the Sun for a start. But 10 Things I Hate About You as well. I think you've got that. He was sort of the better version of what's his face, Jason Briggs from American Pie for me. Sort of the handsome but slightly dorky looking, less Adam Sandler looking, sensitive romantic, and he's a soft boy, but not mean it in a derogatory term. I think that he kind of was a sort of a. You could see him being a love interest without it sort of being like he has to look like what Marvel heartthrobs have to look like now.
Yeah. Ash?
Already been mentioned, but Ryan Gosling for me, just for The Notebook, if nothing else. At this point,
Reasonable.
for me, he was, in the rain, kissing nonsense.
Because I couldn't really fit him in anywhere else, but I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal needs to be in this list. I suppose 2005 we've had Brokeback Mountain, which is the most fucking sensitive Loverboy story that I think we've had during that period of time. And obviously then pairs up quite well with Heath Ledger, who would, he's a very big shout on this list. Donnie Darko is like that tortured artist, which sort of ish fits into the category, I suppose. But yeah, Gyllenhaal would be the one I would throw in here. So if we're going to build a 2010s Brat Pack, who's going in there? Who's your golden boy, Ed?
See, now I really struggled with this one because 2010s is sort of it's around when I got a kid and all of a sudden films weren't a big deal. But I went again with the film and I went with Baby Driver and then went into Google to find out who I was thinking of. And it was the, I want to say his name right, is it Ansel Elgort, something like that?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And again, went with the same kind of looks as my 2000s one. We've got that sort of chiseled jawline, longer hair than you think, very charming, very self-aware, sort of. And I don't think he's had when you look him up, I don't think his career's gone where I thought it was going to. But again,
there are some accusations that sort of derailed the last few years. But he's in Tokyo something or other. It's been I think it's an HBO TV series that's been running, and it's got very high praise. And I think that's what he's been doing. Tokyo Vice. That's what he's been doing for 2022 to 2024. Obviously, he was in West Side Story, which was like probably my favourite film of 2021. I thought he's fantastic.
That was the other film I went with when I realised that it was him, because obviously he's also got the ability to sing as well, which I think helps with that sort of golden boy, everything's kind of perfect thing. But I didn't know about any accusations.
Yeah, we won't get into those on this podcast. Ash, who's your golden boy?
See, I was struggling as well a little bit, but it's probably not the best one. But I think it works because it's going to work with my girl next door to a sense. I'm going with Bradley Cooper. I think he starts to hit his stride because obviously The Hangover was 2009, I believe, and you get a couple more, and then he hits up with American Sniper, Silver Linings Playbook. I think you can probably see where I'm going to go with that next one. But American Sniper just gets into that sort of move of being not the main guy, but he's starting to get to somewhere now. So I went with Bradley Cooper.
Good show. I've gone slightly against type. Emma Stone. I think at this point in her career, she's become a polished, popular, very accessible, extremely funny. She's got the star power. I think she becomes the face of this era of film. I think she's like the all-rounder here. She can do it all. And obviously then she goes on to do La La Land with my other golden boy, which would have been Ryan Gosling. So that kind of feels like a nice little mirroring of each other. Ash, who's your heartthrob here?
Now, I don't know. You guys might laugh at this one, but I went with Channing Tatum. I ask you to find somebody who did not fancy the shit off of him after Magic Mike, and they Step Up. So they loved him in Step Up, and then in 21 Jump Street, he's obviously the heartthrob in those sort of films, next to the comic relief of Jonah Hill. It's Jonah Hill, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can say what you want about his acting, but he's a good-looking boy.
Yeah, I fancied him Coach Carter, so
Ed, who've you got?
I've gone with the man that I don't know if he's good looking or he looks like a horse, Timothy Chalamet. He's heartthrob, but I think his heartthrob of the. It might be slightly early for him, I don't know, in 2010s, but sort of he has that. He doesn't look like the golden boys that I've been picking. He's sort of a little bit more whatever the male version of the girl next door is, but he seems to do well. So I went with and he can speak French. So I mean, come on.
Yeah, I nearly went with Chalamet for either heartthrob or for sensitive romantic.
Yeah, he was on
the
my
back
other one.
of Call Me by Your Name, because you are right. Like he doesn't have the traditional looks that you'd associate with it. Like, so the one I did go with would be the same as Ash. I think Tatum is very much. He's just ridiculously handsome, isn't he? Like it's just in your face almost. I think with it, whereas I think Chalamet's slightly more. I don't know. Maybe it's a thing of the 2010s. I don't know, but he's a different looking type of person. So I think you could fit him in it, or sensitive romantic, which was the other one I was debating, but I've gone with someone else ultimately. But yeah, Channing Tatum, for all the reasons that Ash said, like he was just everywhere and everyone was just fawning over him ridiculously. The Rebel. Ed, who have you got down for your Rebel?
I don't know if this fits, but I wanted to get Zendaya in because I think she was massive at this point. I don't know if Rebel's the right thing because obviously she is also in all the Spider-Man films, and that kind of means that you can't be a rebel when you're in those films. But
I think I haven't seen Euphoria, but doesn't she play a drug addict?
Yeah, she plays a drug addict in Euphoria. She's in obviously The Greatest Showman and does different things in that as well. So, and like she seems to be, she picks roles, I think, where she's desperate to not be the Disney kid. And I think that might make her the rebel because I think she obviously has her look. Again, you wouldn't say it's necessarily what you would assume Hollywood would be all over. So again, maybe that also makes her a bit of a rebel, but she doesn't mind taking on different roles. And I think for someone who could be pigeonholed, like from Disney into Spider-Man films, I quite like that about her.
She kind of, in those terms, she kind of reminds me of Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
From Twilight. Like she's made her millions, and it's just a case of I'm just going to do stuff that I find artistically fulfilling. I think that's a really cool way to look at your work. You don't need to do it for the money. You want to do it for the adulation or whatever it is. Yeah. Ash, who's your rebel?
I really struggled with this one. I wanted to say just because because I wanted to get him in, but I couldn't really see where to put him in. I kind of wanted to put Michael B. Jordan in here because of Fruitvale Station and them sort of films, and to an extent, in that sort of point, he was playing Creed, and he's sort of that grounded urban sort of character in that sort of sense. And I struggled, so I think it's a bit of a cop-out answer, to be honest. But I just wanted to say Michael B. Jordan at some point.
Yeah, we do love a bit of Michael B. Jordan, to be fair. I've gone with Ezra Miller, who I think is a real-life rebel, and obviously he was in Perks of a Wallflower, where I think he played someone who was a little bit off the cuff, and obviously when you talk about Kevin, was a rebel to the extreme, I suppose you'd say. So those are the two films that I think, and he would have fit that mould quite well, I believe, at that point. I say he, I don't mean to misgender him, them even. The Girl Next Door, I've gone with Saoirse Ronan because of Lady Bird and Little Women. Just like, as I said before about Lindsay Lohan and stuff, she's got that emotional sincerity. in spades, and I think she's a perfect pick for the girl next door. Ed, you're nodding. I'm assuming you've got her as well.
She was mine too. I went with obviously Lady Bird and Little Women, and then just went with I think Girl Next Door obviously should be redheads because that was the other link that I had. So yeah, I've got the exact same person.
Ash, who have you got?
I sort of hinted towards it before when I said about Bradley Cooper, but I went with Jennifer Lawrence. I think this time she's come in as Katniss Everdeen at the start of the decade, and then she's in Silver Linings Playbook with him. She's in American Hustle with him. She's in Serena with him. She's in Joy with him. Like, she's in a lot of these sort of films with Bradley Cooper.
That's true.
It works.
I didn't realise they'd work together that much.
Yeah, you see.
I think I've seen all those films as well, which is ridiculous.
But yeah, like you say, she came in in the Hunger Games and as that sort of girl next door, sort of as best as you can in that sort of scenario. And then she's just worked in as she's got that pretty face.
I think I almost made an argument for her to be the aspiring adult. Because it does feel like, I mean, obviously the Hunger Games, she's a young woman with the weight of the world on her shoulders. And I think because of a lot of the films, she seems to be the younger half of an age gap relationship, or at least a perceived one. So I think I was almost, the one I've gone with isn't her, but that's the one I was almost going to go with, because it does feel like she's always playing older than she was throughout that period. So it's Misfits then next, isn't it? I've gone with Aubrey Plaza off the back of Safety Not Guaranteed and Parks and Rec. I was struggling for ages. I was trying to think of a guy who's a misfit, and I was just completely ignoring the fact that the perfect misfit would be Aubrey Plaza. She's quirky, she's anxious, she's offbeat, like fucking razor sharp, the delivery of her lines. And she's an outsider, but she's cool, ultimately, and I think that's the thing I love about her. Even to this day, she's just cooler than everybody else in Hollywood. Ash?
This is going to be my one pro MCU mention here, but I've got
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, get the fuck. Jesus Christ! What, for Uncharted?
Yeah,
dog shit. I've gone with a Tom that begins with H. I've gone with Tom Hiddleston. And I think he's probably he's the one anti-hero sort of thing, Weasley kind of outside the outsider in that sort of sense of he wasn't meant to be. If you listen to some of the things, he wasn't meant to last past the Avengers, and because it's become that popular and he's been that good at that role, he's got himself a series and everything like that, and he's just been this Weasley little shit for that long.
Yeah, that's a great shout. Actually, he doesn't fit in that world at all.
No,
but by like being that misfit, I think he's quite perfect for it. Ed?
So I've got two for Misfits. So I've got Jonah Hill to go alongside Channing Tatum as sort of like, again, he's a misfit because he doesn't look like he should be in any movies because he balloons in weight. He looks incredibly normal. He's really awkward. But my other answer, and again I went back with an answer from earlier, was Beanie Fieldstein from Fieldstein from Booksmart. And she's not just a misfit, sort of who she plays as the brainy, but not quite as and again quite socially awkward, but also she's like maybe a size 12, which for Hollywood is misfit. So again, she doesn't fit all of the criteria that you expect as well. So like maybe the same as Jonah Hill, misfit for not just sort of the acting style, but also
they are brother and sister, so that might explain why. Yeah. Yeah, good shout that is. So who is your aspiring adult, Ed?
I went with who you already mentioned, Emma Stone. I had her down as, again, using the same thing I did with Anne Hathaway, sort of the she could easily be, not just the heroine in every single film she's in, but also she's got the acting chops about her, and like La La Land, Birdman, they're really impressive acting performances, and she's a little bit more grown up than I think all the others.
Fair. I've gone with a different Emma. I've gone with Emma Watson. Obviously, the perks of being a wallflower, being her trying to be more grown up than she was at that point, and like Hermione Granger, she was always older than her years. It feels like she's the one who's always been, a bit like I said with Jennifer Lawrence, she's the one who was always 2 or 3 years older than her actual years. It feels like she's the one who's always acted up. It's kind of strange that, I mean, she's done an amazing job with like the UN and stuff like that, but Emma Watson hasn't really translated into film work. And I presume that is entirely her choice because she doesn't need to, because I'm certain she's got more than enough money to see. But you'd have thought that she'd have done more of that. It's kind of amazing that, and it kind of feels quite Hermione-esque for her to be more concerned about saving the planet than it does doing good films. That's kind of cool. Ash?
I've gone with he played in a couple of films as he's the teacher. He's teacher of a couple of in the school a couple of times. I've gone with James McAvoy. I think obviously before the start of this decade, he's sort of growing as a thing, and then going as Charles Xavier in those X-Men films. I thought he was superb, and then he's gone on to do Filth and those sort of Split and those sort of broader adultish roles. And I think he's just grown as a character and as an actor in that sort of sense.
Good shout, that is. I really enjoyed Filth, and then I read the book and I was like, oh, that film's shit. Like, this book is so good.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I saw it first, so that when I read the book, I've still got the memory of enjoying it. Yeah, I definitely did it the right way around, I think. Who's your sensitive romantic type then, Ash?
This is my excuse to get a mention about timing, which I'm going to use any chance to. I've gone with Rachel McAdams. I think she's been superb, and she's been in a lot of those sort of films. She was in the other half of The Notebook, obviously. She's Time Traveler's Wife, About Time, of course, Mean Girls as well, lest we forget. I think I love Rachel McAdams, and I think she's always been part of a good pair in whatever film she's been in.
Yeah. Ed, who've you got?
Exact same answer.
Yeah.
Exact same. She's. I don't think she's bad in any film she's in, even if the films aren't great. Because she's even in. Is it Wedding Crashers?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's one of the few good things in that film. So.
Isla Fisher as well, isn't it?
Yes, she's the other good thing in that film.
Yeah. I've gone with Andrew Garfield. Like, for The Amazing Spider-Man, which I think is a bit of a shit film, but there's just something about him that he's a bit of a soppy, mopey, romantic boy, isn't he? And I feel like he's taken that role into other things as well throughout his career, that there's a vulnerability to him, that even though like he's this massive, big-name actor, that he's still really earnest. And I really like Andrew Garfield. He's fantastic, just a really good actor. So he would have been the one I've gone for there.
I can never not see him as the kid in the Doctor Who episode in the Daleks Take Manhattan. Like, he's always going to be that kid to me now. So.
It's weird when you see people grow up and they're like, oh shit, you were in that weird thing way back when.
Have you seen his late night chat show where he talks about grieving for I think it's his mom? That's an incredible.
Have you seen the Elmo one?
Yeah,
the Elmo one is the war.
Yeah,
the Sesame Street one. Yeah, it just breaks me. It's horrific.
He's so good at being, like you say, earnest. I think that's a great show.
Yeah, excellent. Right, okay, that's the first segment done. We're going to move on, and we'll be doing a short film review. Right, back with short film review. Ed, because you copped out last week, I'm not letting you off the hook. I needed you to see The Strange Thing About the Johnsons. So, I'll put 60 seconds on the clock.
Where's my popcorn?
60 seconds, tell me when you want me to hit go.
Yep, go.
I
don't think I've ever been as intrigued and uncomfortable at the same time watching anything or doing anything. I took yours and Stu's advice and didn't watch it when I normally catch up with these things when my lad's playing cricket. And within the first 5 seconds when a guy is wanking to his own father, I think that was the right choice. I think just to talk about it very quickly, obviously in 60 seconds, I think it's a really clever play on abuse within the family, with it being the other way around. But my God, it was one of the most awkward watches of my entire life. And I won't watch it again, but I'm glad I did watch it. I think that's where I'll leave it.
Excellent. I'm glad you sort of enjoyed it, maybe.
Yeah, it was enjoyable, but it was fucking weird.
Yeah, definitely. So the actual topic for this week was going to be a Dutch film called I'm Not a Robot from 2023. It did win the Oscar last year. Let me just pull up the description of the film. After repeatedly failing a CAPTCHA test, music producer Lara becomes obsessed with a disturbing question. Could she be a robot? So, Ash, you can go next. Tell me when you want to hit go, and then you can give us your review.
Go on then. Go.
Okay.
I'm Not a Robot was a beautiful study of... it was relative in the sense of sometimes you struggle in yourself and you feel like you're losing yourself. That's how I felt when I was watching this. I related to the girl so much, to the point where she was struggling and you could see her breaking down and losing a grip on reality. All for it to actually be real and she is actually a robot. I was just like, this is your worst fears ignited here. I thought it was very well shot, very well acted, and despite not speaking Dutch, thank God for the subtitles, you felt like you related to this girl so much. It deserved all the awards it got. It probably is the best one we've watched so far.
Excellent. I'll go now because we've already punished you once, Ed, so I'll take the next one. Right. I'm Not a Robot was found as part of my yearly Oscar death race. It's a short about absurd lengths that humans go to in order to prove their humanity to systems that don't actually care about them. It's autobiographical hybrid, directed and starring Victoria Mapleback, a woman whose day unravels when a simple CAPTCHA decides that she's no longer human enough to pass its test. Like what starts as a digital inconvenience becomes this sharp commentary on bureaucracy and identity and like the quiet dehumanization baked into everyday life. It's about a woman who thought she knew herself and was being told time and again not to believe her own truth. The film's intimate, minimalistic style, with direct-to-camera honesty and this deliberately mundane setting, it heightens the emotional rawness of someone being told by this unfeeling, bureaucratic and patriarchal system that she doesn't qualify as real. It's quite silly on the surface, but around that silliness is wrapped this emotional truth, and that's why it works, this small, strange, and unexpectedly powerful, especially in an age where disinformation keeps eroding our sense of what's really real. Right. Ed, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, go.
So I have to agree with Ash. I think it's the best one we watched. It might be the best short film I think I've ever watched. But, what begins as a dark comedy quickly spirals into something way more unsettling. Blurring the lines between being a human and being a machine. And we've all failed those CAPTCHA tests. And what the other thing that I'm really happy about with this film is it taught me that in Dutch they all swear in English. And I think knowing your emotions can be programmed. Are they still real? What that must have made her feel was just, as we've already said, must have just been sickening. It's incredibly well shot, incredibly well acted, and I think what makes the film really powerful is how ordinary it feels. She can't pass a test in an office. It's normal technology that we'd normally go through, and we're all in a world now shaped by AI. So we're all wondering what's real and what isn't. And the fact that even at the end we don't get clear answers, it leaves you with that really weird discomfort of like, are we real?
Excellent. Lovely. Super. Right, so after the break we'll be talking cocktail. Welcome back to the final part of the podcast. It is 1988's Cocktail. Released on 29th of July 1988. We did review this as part of a break from Cage a couple of 3 years ago, I think. So I'm kind of disappointed we've had to watch it again, but we do need to see it again. Somehow Stu's managed to get out of it.
You've got two fresh eyes on it this year, this one.
Yeah.
It's not going to be positive.
Yeah, you weren't. You were sending me abuse during your watch of the film, so I take it you didn't particularly enjoy it.
No. This is the worst one that. This is the worst one that we've watched so far for Cruise. This stunk.
Do you agree with that, Ed? Is this the worst one?
I hated it from minute one to when I started to watch it on plus 1.5 to try and get through it. I could not stand it. It was the fake banter and the weird Aussie, and none of it was any good.
He looked so old. He looked so old compared to Cruise. It just didn't gel whatsoever.
No, and the characters didn't gel. What they looked like didn't gel. The fact that they could become firm friends within 3 to 4 minutes. It's just.
I think I really hated the fact that he was named Brian Flanagan, because Brian Flanagan should be playing for Preston in 1997. Like it doesn't compute that young hot shit Tom Cruise is Brian Flanagan. That was bizarre. It just, I didn't like it. I did. One thing I did like was Elizabeth Shue, because she's just wonderful, and I kind of love her in everything I see her in. And I did like their chemistry. I thought they had good on-screen chemistry. I don't know that we see them working together again, which I'm a little bit sad about, but I really liked her. Ed, any opinions on Shue?
Yeah, she was, a very dull, shining light in what was an awful film. I know people can fall in love very quickly, but everything in this movie felt like it was dialed up to 11 in terms of how quickly emotions were allowed to run rife. But she was very nice to look at, and she could act. I'll give her all of that. But it was just, this was, to use one of your phrases, Andy, this was the drivelling shit. I hated it.
Ash, we had a bit of Gina Gershon as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
For all of 30 seconds, it seemed.
It's a shame that she didn't stay longer. But to be fair, if we're talking about Girl Next Door, Elizabeth Shue there, Jesus Christ, that was Girl Next Door. She was cute as all hell. Whenever she was on screen, it may as well have been Peanuts, like when the teachers are talking. Like, whenever there was a noise, wah, 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 wah. I was infatuated with her. Jesus Christ, I got a bit of a crush going on there at that point. That was one of only 2 positive things I had about it with that film.
What was the other positive?
The soundtrack.
I didn't even like that. I can't get over how bad it was.
It's quite interesting. I think there is a bit of a dirty dancing about it. People love this film. So like when I saw my friend Gemma about a month or so ago, I was saying, we've moved on from Nick Cage, we're now watching Tom Cruise. And the first thing she said was, have you done Cocktail yet? I was like, no, not yet, we haven't got to it. And I feel like this is the type of film that, for people who like your dirty dancings and those, 80s rom-coms or just more rom than com, I think it is, in fairness. I think it really ticks a lot of boxes for people. I think it gets a good performance out of Cruise that the film potentially doesn't deserve. I personally think that Cruise holds this film up to keep it from being the absolute worst thing I've seen to just being something I thought was pretty bad.
Yeah, he is the only thing in it that's any good, apart from the poem at the end, which is when I wanted to put my foot through my TV.
Those poems are weird.
It was the 80s, wasn't it?
Very out of place.
Yeah, it's the 80s. That's what, just over here we had Alexis Sale doing it in a Scouse accent, getting very angry about Margaret Thatcher. But they were doing it about how great America is. It's still propaganda, though, I would say, following on from what we'd had with Top Gun. It is still this is still the capitalist dream to be in America, and you can make it big, and all you need is an idea.
I think that is very cruisy, isn't it, to think about a lot of his work being pro-capitalism, pro-America, in spite of it. I haven't seen Born on the 4th of July. I'm expecting it to be something that's rah-rah America.
Yeah, because the only guy who couldn't hack it was the Australian.
Okay, yeah.
I was happy
that
when
makes
he killed
sense.
himself.
Yeah, that seemed like it came out of nowhere, and I didn't care. there was absolutely no emotional heft to his character in the slightest. He's in a pool of blood, and the only thing I thought of was, we must be near the end now.
That's the best thing about it. It's almost over. Yeah. It was strange because he's just a comedy dick throughout it. Like, he's almost a walking erection. Like, he's nothing. He's just...
Yeah.
That seems to be his whole beat. And then all of a sudden, oh no, life's hard. I'm going to kill myself. Okay. Yeah, it just... There was very little impact from it.
It seemed like he was just a cook as well. Like,
yep.
He introduces his wife, and then she's like getting close and kissing other men, and he's just sat there smiling. It's like, put your fucking Superman suit on and go and sit in the cupboard. A fucking weirdo.
I think that goes to highlight, because I think like a big theme about this is obsession with money, which comes down to the whole capitalist thing, because that's what Elizabeth Shue criticises Brian of, just being interested in money and not anything else. I think that what was it? I can't remember the Aussie's name. He was Tom Cruise 10 years down the line, where it was just about the money.
Yeah, and his character, when he starts talking about, is it Coughlin's Law? I didn't realise it was him. So in my head, I'm thinking, is this some kind of philosopher that we're supposed to know? And I didn't realise he was talking about himself in the third person. His character was so irrelevant that even when he was referencing himself, I didn't know who he was talking about.
Yeah, it's not great, is it? Does he run? He did run when Shue's mate was throwing up on the beach, didn't he? Yeah. I think that was the only one I remember.
He also has a run over the the courtyard for school as well, when he really gives it some beans for about 3 to 4 seconds.
Yeah. Does he take his shirt off? We got some underwater fucking, so yes, he
several times.
Yeah. Did he wear sunglasses?
In Jamaica, yes, he did.
Yeah, in Jamaica.
Oh, when they were sat in the restaurant talking about the shoelace things. Yeah.
I don't know if you know, Andy, if they are on set or not, but they still seem to have managed to find people with worse Jamaican accents than Cool Runnings, despite the fact they might have actually been on set in Jamaica.
Yeah, I need to find that out, because that was
as a man who's had Jamaican in-laws, they didn't sound Jamaican.
Explosions. There was no explosion, but we did get a decent-sized fire towards the end. So that's something, at least. Cruise doing cruise things. Cocky, arrogant. Men want to be him. Women want to be with him. That's quite cruisy, isn't it? At this
that's
point?
The film, isn't it? As well.
Yeah,
that scene. That scene when he gets the older lady. That was the most cringy I think I've seen of Cruise so far.
It was a bit, wasn't it? Any other tropes of Cruise that you saw, Ed?
I think something I didn't think was a trope of Cruise until we started watching all of his films. The awkward laugh that he seems to do in every one of these films that we've got. And it feels as though it's almost slightly unscripted, and whether he's sort of going off-piste a little bit, but he does that in this film an awful lot, alongside really bad dancing. But that's definitely a Cruise thing that I've noticed in the films we've been watching, that there's this sort of the need to giggle over whatever it is that is maybe not the best part of a script.
Whilst smirking through it as well.
Yeah. Still looking incredibly handsome, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah. Ash?
I think I messaged you about it. I feel like he probably went out of his way to take a cocktail making class, didn't he? Just so that he could be doing that shit. Like, you just knew it. Like, you're sitting there and I'm like, you have, haven't you? Freak.
Yeah. He said learning to bartend, he genuinely loved it. He really speaks about it, that experience today, very fondly. Yeah, he genuinely loved it. And I feel like that is such a pop culture moment throughout the late 80s into the 90s. I remember, like, I don't think it was The Simpsons, but that sort of thing, American TV shows, doing a cocktail where someone would be, tossing the I don't even know what the items are called in cocktail making, but the shaker and shit like that. Yeah. It feels like it's a moment in time. Spoke about it a little bit during Top Gun. I know everything as a shield when really he's just a bit of a scared boy under it. That's something that I think we've come to see as being a little bit more cruisy. Like, I feel like he's a more rounded character here than he was in The Colour of Money. But I suppose he's the lead, so he kind of needs to be, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the calibre of actor he's got last week to this week, it's chalk and cheese, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Cruise's life and thoughts on this film. He wasn't a big fan of Cocktail. The film ended up being much more of a commercial movie than the script he had originally signed on for. So it does appear as though the studio got involved and rounded some of the edges off. Apparently, the original script was supposed to be darker, more character-driven, and more critical of the yuppie lifestyle. So even though it ends up being quite capitalistic, I don't think it was initially supposed to be. He does recognise that people just seem to love this film. His cocktail making scenes feel like they have that pop culture footprint that he's said. And when asked directly about it, he said, "It's a fun movie. People enjoy it. That's great." Like, that's the faintest of fake praise, isn't it? Let's be honest. So the big three award count, we were previously up to 19. We've now got 20 cumulative award nominees. Cocktail was nominated for Best Song at the Golden Globes for Kokomo.
Yeah.
The Razzies, we did have 6, which were all for Endless Love. We now have a cumulative 9 Razzie nominations and 1 winner. So 10 in total. It was up for Worst Picture, Worst Director for Roger Dalton, Worst Actor for Tom, which I think is a bit harsh, because he's not the worst actor in this by a long shot.
He's not the problem with that movie.
No. It did win for the Worst Screenplay Award.
Yeah.
The critical response, it was hated. It did not. 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, so 1 in 10 critics gave it some praise. Roger Ebert said it's a shallow, dumb movie about shallow, dumb people. He said Cruise was a smiling vacuum. The New York Times called it slick, superficial star vehicle, stating that TC had his Top Gun swagger but no idea what to do with it. In 2018, The Guardian said it's a time capsule of 80s excess and Cruise is at his most irresistibly cocky. Vulture in 2020 said Cruise is magnetic even when the movie around him collapses. And IndieWire in 2021 said Cocktail is the blueprint for Tom Cruise's persona. Swagger outside, panic inside. Budget and box office for the film, $20 million budget, so we're up to a cumulative total of $117 million, and it got $171.5 million in box office.
There was nothing to do. There was nothing to do at the time, was there, other than go to the cinema?
So we've got the cumulative total to this point of $780.5 million.
Honestly, at that point, just go do crack. Like, that'd be a way better time, better thing to do with your money.
And how well would he do it as well? Because he'd really research it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I've said it before, Tom Cruise just doesn't seem to miss with his films. It's incredible. I'm kind of intrigued what that would come out to if we, like, adjusted it for inflation. Because I suspect 170 million back then it's going to be pushing high, like probably not $1 billion, but I'm guessing it's going to be over 500.
Yeah, it's going to be at least 3 times that, isn't it?
Mm.
If he was being offered $10,000 to get out of that rich girl's life, that must be enough to buy one of the fancy apartments that they couldn't afford to live in anyway in that film that they all seem to have. So if that's what he was offered as his payoff, what's that times by 100 or whatever it is?
Mm. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Interestingly, so the next film we've got to do, are we going to do Young Guns next, even though he's got a blink and you'll miss it part? I just really like it and I kind of want to watch it again. Yeah, but the one after that, I think, is Rain Man, and I think that was the highest grossing film of 1988.
Nice.
So I'm quite interested by that one. Ed, Cage or Cruise?
Nicolas Cage doesn't work in this film either, so it's got to be Tom Cruise. Nicolas Cage is not going to pull in Jamaica.
Definitely not 80s Cage, I don't think.
Nope.
Ash?
I don't think it really matters that much. I'm gonna go with Cage just because he could go as batshit crazy as he wants, and it might make it a better film.
Yeah. Nicolas Cage should have been Doug Coughlin. That's what we actually needed.
That would have been it. 1988 Nick Cage is Vampire's Kiss Cage.
Oh.
Like, he's really fucking swinging for the fences at this point.
So imagine Nicolas Cage telling you about Coughlin's Law, you'd actually know who he was talking about himself.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is a place for Cage, but it wouldn't be Brian Flanagan. Based on this film alone, is Cruise the saviour of cinema or just another sinner, Ash?
Get him the fuck out. He's a sinner.
Ed?
Yeah, he's the best thing in it, but I still don't think he's very good in it. So no, sinner.
I'd quite like to see the original script, or at least know how different it was going to be, because I don't. Based on what we've seen of Cruise, this doesn't feel like the kind of film he would want to make, and by all accounts, he doesn't particularly like it. So I can see why he may have signed on if this was a completely different film that he was sold. But based on the film that was produced, I think he's a sinner as well. If you enjoyed Cocktail, though, you may also enjoy Ed.
I'm a celebrity. I don't know what you'd enjoy to watch this. I would suggest, just because the thing that really, really annoyed me the most was the incredibly forced and really bad banter. Is just go and watch any of the Cornetto trilogy and watch what an actual double act should look like, of people bouncing off each other. And also, you need something that's British. You can't watch another American thing after watching this. You need some realism. So go and watch Shaun of the Dead. Go and watch Hot Fuzz. Just watch something where you've got two mates that can really bounce off each other. Because the real answer's Officer and Gentleman, isn't it? But I think you need a deep clean from watching this film.
Because mine was going to be Dirty Dancing, like I've already mentioned it once. But it feels like it's the same sort of film, just... Yeah. But you're probably right. It does need a good double act that's just completely different, just to get the stench off this one. Coyote Ugly, maybe?
That
yours,
was my answer. That was mine. That was mine. Either that or a lobotomy.
Crocodile Dundee was my other one. Where just Paul Hogan is a better Australian.
Tremendous film. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, then. So next week, Crash Site will be our short film review. An object crashes, lands in the wilderness, and hikers Max and Ben, played by Stephen Yeun and Sam Richardson, recover it before authorities can. Max's growing obsession with mysterious device leads this strange and solitary man to the point of self-sacrifice, certain that he's made a profound discovery and possibly first contact with an alien race. I like both of the actors in this. When I saw it was a two-hander with those two, that was enough of a reason to give it a watch, I thought. It's available on YouTube if you want to watch it. I will put the link in the podcast description if you want to watch I'm Not a Robot. And I think all three of us will say you probably should give it a watch.
Yeah.
It was tremendous.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
The cruise continues, and we'll be looking at Young Guns 1988. So it's the first one. As I said, it is very much literally a blink and you'll miss it. He plays a henchman, I think, who gets shot. I've watched Young Guns a few times and I've never clocked which one Tom Cruise actually is, but I'm excited just to watch it because it's been a while, and also it's Emilio Estevez, so it kind of fits in quite nicely with the last part of our Brat Pack podcast. So make sure you've got a somewhere of a podcatcher that you listen to us on, and if you could leave us a review, we would love you forever. If you want to get in contact, it's at CageFightingPod on the socials, and it's cagefightingpod@gmail.com if you want to send us anything or drop us an email. For this week, Edward, would you like to say goodbye?
See you all next week.
Ashley, would you like to say goodbye?
Happy Easter, guys, if you celebrate. Goodbye.
It's goodbye from me too, and remember, be excellent to each other.